Thanks for joining us tonight. We've got some very important news that was just released to the public. The United States government has just repealed the First Amendment. Yep, that's right. They've just taken away our freedom of speech. Now, everything that I've said is completely false, but with the way things are today, you believed me for a second, didn't you? Well, freedom of speech is what I'm here to talk to you all about today. We as Americans are lucky to have the freedom that we have in this country. We are not only allowed to speak freely about anything, we can also make fun of the government, like this man. Unlike other places around the world where people are kept silent due to laws, we can voice our opinions without the government being on our backs. Well, mostly, but where I'm trying to get at this is that we can write about anything that comes to our mind. Now, some of this should never be written down, like ever, but some of our thoughts we possess can change society. This freedom of speech we have gives Americans the ability to create works of art and that can last through the years by being relatable to each new generation. We as humans can even relate to the struggles and challenges that those who came before us have faced because we too are facing struggles. The Great Depression is a great example of this, no pun intended. Many people now probably relate to the struggle of putting meals on the table for their children and not knowing what is ahead financially. Those who are not in that situation are more likely to not easily relate to those financial challenges. Through the beauty of books, authors can make situations relatable through other means. Everyone has had feelings of stress with either school or with parents or many other areas. What is unique about voicing opinions in writing is connecting the feelings of certain event to an event that others can relate to. It doesn't matter if the book was written yesterday or 100 years ago, the book will still be able to give the message the writer has intended. American authors have been doing this for hundreds of years, dating back to the foundation of the country. There has been a countless amount of discussion and criticism over the years of the government and its many politicians. Even now, we are in the middle of turmoil with the press and the government. Just think of how messed up it was hundreds of years ago, when the United States was still in its early years. During those early years, there was a movement known as Transcendentalism. Everyone's favorite, but come on, this was a period of time when people and authors were writing about individualism and how corrupt the government was. People were able to express their opinions through their writing because nothing was stopping them. Well, except society. They kind of thought these people were nut jobs, but nothing was legally stopping them from writing about their views. Let's take a close look at one of the authors of the time period, Henry David Thoreau. He literally remained in solitude for over 2 months in a cabin in the woods at Walden Pond. That's pretty good considering it was a cabin and it was in the woods. Most people wouldn't even make one night. One of Thoreau's more well-known pieces of writing is Civil Disobedience. In this 1849 essay, Thoreau talks about how people should not allow the government to change their way of thinking or their morals and ultimately resist. He says, the government itself, which is only the mode which the people have chosen to execute their will, is equally liable to be abused and perverted before the people can act through it. And these are pretty strong words coming from a citizen in the United States. Now there are people today who probably agree with this statement. People thought the same way back then as well, and those feelings were able to be expressed due to part of Thoreau's opportunity to speak his mind. The ability to make fun of the United States government allows people to show their true feeling towards it. Whether you're pro-government or against government, being able to voice personal opinions is what defines who we are. It is actually a benefit to have criticism because then the government knows how to improve. That doesn't imply that they would do anything about it, but still, it's much more than other countries. Now, all through history, there have been huge movements based on our right to freedom of speech. Many of the amendments to the Constitution resulted from some group pushing their opinion far enough to change society. Our country was even built on the opinions that we should be separate from Great Britain, and built by those who spoke out for change. Authors often wrote about ideas in society that they wished would be changed. The women's suffrage movement is a great example. In Kate Chopin's The Awakening, she writes about women's marital infidelity. She talks about how women who defy the norm of society usually wander into the abysses of solitude. This book is a great representation of what women went through over 100 years ago, and the elements of the story are still true today. People can still connect with the main character Edna because they too might be affected by solitude in their lives for other reasons. Kate Chopin's opinions and views of women's society directly show in her writing and are relatable to today given the recent talks about abortion rights. The ability to speak out against injustices such as voting rights is one of the things that makes this country so great. The women's movement and their opinions they expressed were able to change society by leading directly to the 19th Amendment. Now let's get on to something which I believe everyone in the audience has done. Pictures themselves as a main character of a story. Whether it's a superhero or the guy from The Wolf of Wall Street, we all have felt the connection between ourselves and the main character or something. American literature has the quality to connect with people in a realist way, through characters' problems in the story. The events in these stories are perfect representations of events in our own lives. We feel pity for the characters as though they are ourselves. And one character in particular stands out to me as in regards to someone whom we can relate. That is Gatsby from F. Scott Fitzgerald's book, The Great Gatsby. Although many Americans don't have the same status as Gatsby, his struggle with love can reach a wide range of people. We all have or had that person or thing that we always wanted, but it doesn't work out. In a way, Americans all strive for wealth in this country, which makes Gatsby a perfect example of the American dream. Like, come on, is there anyone in the audience who wouldn't want to never have to worry about paying the bills ever again? I thought not. Fitzgerald is pretty much basing his main character on himself and his love life in the real world. This is probably one of the reasons why this book is so relatable to everyday Americans. He expressed his feelings in the book, which captured what everyone was worried about, failing at meeting their own personal goals. Fitzgerald says Gatsby was bound to get ahead. He always had some resolves, like pursuing Daisy or something. Isn't that what scares people today, the thought of failing at what you want the most? Now, I'm not going to focus on the past as much as the present. Our president right now is a multi-billionaire. Whether or not you agree with what he stands for, he symbolizes what Americans want, but won't be able to have. But that second part, people don't want to think about, which helps explain why many millions of people support him. As the show comes to a close, I can't emphasize enough how important this freedom we have in this country is. Our freedom of speech allows literature to reach across multiple generations. Our voice can be both powerful and writing can both move those in the present and those who live 100 years from now. Well, hopefully there are people 100 years from now. But that about wraps up the show. Sorry to the Crucible, we ran out of time for it tonight. That's all for me, Lee Clyburn, for the English show. Good night and good luck. That's bad. This is the English show, and I'm Lee Clyburn. Thanks for joining us, but this is way too fast. Good evening, everyone. This is it didn't start, but I'm here to talk with you all tonight. That was bad. And one of the things I did, that's bad. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lee. Oh, man.